All right, guys, welcome back. This is checker understanding number three, letter A. I will be showing you two ways of doing this. So one is not necessarily better than the other, if you ask me, because the way I do questions, it depends on the kind of questions that I would have. Sometimes I would choose to do sort of a longer way compared to a shorter way, and this has everything to do with the LCD and LCM. Okay. So the first one I will do is following the suggestion in the book, which I also do sometimes. Um, so let's begin. So we are going to be simplifying this. All right. We need to simplify this. So that means that we have to put them all under the same denominator. Okay. So to put them under the same denominator, you need to find an LCD. All right. What would be an LCD? An LCD would be the least common denominator. So for example, if you have 1/2, okay, and then you're going to add it to 3/4. But the LCD would be 4 because the 2 goes into 4, right? Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn the 1/2 into 2/4. It goes into this, right? And then you can add them up. Now, suppose the values that you have would not be allowing you to make one denominator go into the other denominator. For example, um, like 2/3 plus 3/4. All right. So 3 doesn't go into 4, 4 doesn't go into 3. So you would have to find a multiple. All right. So a number that 3 goes into and 4 goes into. And there would be a lot of numbers. It could be 12, it could be 24, it could be 36. Nobody said that it has to be the least common multiple. All right. As long as you are familiar with the numbers. So you can have a common denominator, which is 12, or you can have a common denominator, which is 24 or 36, and so on, provided that when you come up with a common denominator, you will be getting an equivalent fraction. All right. So, for example, if you want 12 for this, so the 2/3 to become a 12, so the 3 was multiplied by 4. So the 2 would be multiplied by 4 makes it an 8. And then this 4 to make it a 12 multiplied by 3. So the 3 on top would be multiplied by 3. So more or less that is what you have. All right. And then just simplify it. Or if you want, you can turn the 2/3 into a fraction with a denominator of 24, where in that 3 was multiplied by 8. So the top would be 16. While the other one would be for that 4 to become a 24, so that would be multiplied by 6. So that means the top is multiplied by 6, 18. So notice that if you do it this way, this is 17 over 12. And you might think, wait a minute, what about the other one? Well, 16 plus 18 is 34 over 24. And if you notice, you can divide the top and the bottom by 2, gives you 17 over 12 again. So just wanted to give you a sort of an intro into how to create an LCD. Okay, sometimes it's good. Sometimes, I mean, the way I do it. Sometimes I just don't want to waste my time in figuring out an LCD. All right. So again, it really depends on you. So let's go into the question now. So let's start with finding an LCD for this one. So the question is, what would be a factor, or what would be a denominator rather, such that all of them can go into that denominator? So let's start with the numbers. You have a 2, you have a 4, you have a 3. All right. What number would it be such that all three numbers go into that number? Or to put it another way, that number is divisible by all three numbers. Well, 2 goes into 4, but 3 doesn't go into 4, so that doesn't work. What about 6? Well, 2 goes into 6, 3 goes into 6, but 4 does not go into 6. What would be another number? Well, 12, right? So 12 would be a good denominator. So let's see. If it was a 12, this, is 12 divisible by 2? Yes. Is 12 divisible by 4? Yes. Is 12 divisible by 3? Yes. All right. So, however, remember that the denominator has to have an a also, because This one has an A, this one has an A squared. So what would be a good LCD? Would 12A be okay? Well, ask yourself, do you only have an A in all of the denominators? This one doesn't have an A, so that doesn't even matter. So this one, A squared, oh, so just having an A is not enough. This one just has an A, so that's okay. But then since this one has an A squared, so you have to have an A squared for your LCD. Okay? All right. So that means we are going to turn all three fractions into new fractions that has 12A squared as a denominator. So that means this 5 over 2, okay? For this 2 to become a 12A squared, I would have to multiply it by 6A squared. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom, just so that it will be an equivalent fraction. So really, this fraction right here, okay, if you think about it, if you cancel these two, it goes back to 5 halves. So we are not really changing anything. You know what I mean? Okay, next. Minus 3 over 4a squared. Now, how do you make this 4a squared into 12a squared? Well, you have to multiply it by 3. 3 times 4a squared is 12a squared. So that means the top has to be multiplied by 3. Plus 2 over 3a. How do you make the 3a into 12a squared? Well, you multiply it by 4a. All right? So whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So there are your new equivalent fractions. All of the denominators, okay, would have a value of 12a squared. This is really 12a squared. This is 12a squared. This is 12a squared. All right. So let's simplify the numerators. So this one would be 30a squared over 12a squared minus, this is 9 over 12a squared plus 8a over 12a squared. Now, probably some of you would actually skip this part because you would have noticed that right on this step, all of them would already have the same denominator. So you can now put them all together and you have 12a squared on the bottom. The top is 30a squared minus 9 plus 8a. Or if you're thinking, Mr. Abram, should I have the 8a before then minus 9? Well, math convention usually does that, meaning you might want to turn your answer into 30a squared plus 8a minus 9 all over 12a squared. And the non-permissible value is that a cannot be equal to 0. Now, this is already a good answer. That's okay. If you want to turn it to this one, better. But both of them are correct answers. Okay. Now, I said at the beginning that I will be showing you two ways of doing it. So I will show you an alternative. All right, an alternate solution. Okay, still the same question. Okay, so let's go back to the top. So it's still the same question. I'm going to write my other solution here. Just bear with me. Some of you might be saying, oh, this is too hard. I don't even want that. It's up to you, okay? I'm just offering you another solution. Whether you like it or not, it is entirely up to you. So 5 halves over minus 3 over 4a squared plus 2 over 3a. Mind you, this one is lengthy, okay? This one, this solution that I'm going to show you would help those who find it hard to do an LCD. Now, guys, when I was young, there were, I had a facility with finding an LCD or not finding an LCD. This didn't really matter to me. But I know that there are classmates of mine that had trouble with the LCD, in which case, what the teacher said was, okay, well then, if it takes too much time to figure out what is the LCD. There's a different way, and that would be, guys, to just use all of this, all of the denominators, multiply them all, and that will be your common denominator. So what I'm saying is this. So if I were to multiply all of them, okay, so that means that would be 2 times 4, 8 times 3. That would be 24. A squared times A is A cubed. Okay? So that would be 24 A cubed. Are you with me? Now, um, if that is what you're going to do, so that means this first fraction, okay, it already has a 2. I'm supposed to multiply it by 4A squared and 3A. All right. Again, just bear with me here. Okay. So since our original fraction is just 5/2, so whatever you multiply to the bottom, you multiply to the top. Once again, you may or may not like this one. It is entirely up to you. Now, the next one, it originally had 4A squared as a denominator. But since I'm multiplying all of the denominators, I'm going to need the 2 and the 3A. So I will multiply it by 2. I multiply it by 3A. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Okay? As you can see, this is the original fraction. Okay? I just multiplied it by the other two denominators. Plus 2. The original denominator is 3A. And since I'm multiplying all of them, I need these two. I multiplied the bottom by 2 and by 4A squared. And once again, what do you do? What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Okay. Now, let's simplify this one first. 5 times 4, 20 times 3, 60. 60A cubed. Okay. What is the denominator? That would be, we already know that 2 times 4 is 8 times 3, 24. A squared times A is A cubed. Minus, what is 3 times 2? 6 times 3, 18A. Over 24A cubed. Plus, 2 times 2 is 4 times 4 is 16A squared. Over 24A cubed. And once again, all of them have the same denominator. We can actually just put them all together. 60, oops, 60A cubed minus 18A plus 16A squared all over 24A cubed. Oops. Okay. So as you get to this point, you just have to make sure that you are, again, simplifying, which means ask yourself, is there anything that I can factor out? Okay. I can factor out from the top. All right. What is the common term? Okay. So we go back to factoring. So I think all of the three terms here, they are even. Obviously, they are divisible by 2. Okay. Now, if you're thinking, what about 3? Well, 16 is not divisible by 3. What about 4? Well, 18 is not divisible by 4. Okay. 5, obviously, now. So let's factor out the 2. What else? All of them have A's. So I think we can factor out an A. In which case, if you factor out an A from 60A cubed, I would have 30A squared. Right? What else? If I factor out a 2A from 18A or negative 18A, that would be minus 9. If I factor out a 2A here, I would have plus 8A. All right? All over 24A cubed. Now guys, look. The A here can cancel out with this. Becomes an A squared. The 2 cancels out with this, becomes a 12. So I will have a final answer of 30 a squared minus 9 plus 8a all over 12 a squared. Now let's compare that to the answer that we have earlier. Are they the same? This looks like this one. So as you can see, they are the same. One is just a longer way of doing it. Some of you would probably say, oh, I like the first one. It's up to you. Okay. Although sometimes I actually do the second one. All right. It depends on the question. Okay. So again, to finish this off, the non-permissible value obviously is a is not equal to 0. So that's it for me for this one. I will make another video for check your understanding number 3, letter B. Thanks for watching. Bye.